is KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank.
And we're back, One World Away podcast here on KC Sports Network, brought to you by our good friends at Emprise Bank, our partners in Possible. Extremely grateful for their support in making this happen, and extremely grateful for the pals back on another show, Joel Penfield, Josh Keiser. Start with Joel. How's it going, man?
I'm hanging in there. Storms were kind of gnarly tonight across the KC Metro. As you see, if you're watching on YouTube, if you're an audio listener, I'm wearing a polo tonight, which is not my normal MO. I am almost hoodie exclusive, but I was supposed to be on KCTV5 tonight with Scott Reese, and the show started. They were about to cut the cameras to us to talk some Royals, and the weather guys were like, nope, cut it. We got a tornado warning in Douglas County. Sorry, guys. And so then I hung out in the offices at KCTV5 for about 2 hours while the storm passed. So it's very late on Tuesday, and I appreciate you guys staying up with me so we can knock this thing out.
Joshua, how are you?
I'm buzzing, boys. The Royals are coming off their best April in organizational history. Here we are, postseason bound. I'm excited to talk about it. Let's get into it. Jordan, how are you, sir?
I'm good. I'm glad that you brought that up, the record. The Royals tweeted that out. They did win. For once, we're recording after a game. It's not like a live score update or it got rained out or something happened.
No contact plays at home.
Yes, no contact plays to talk about. 4-3 since our last episode. Have played in Toronto quite a bit and played the Tigers mixed in there. This most recent one, 4-1 win on Tuesday night. Michael Massey had his first home run of the season. It was a 2-run jack. Bobby Witt Jr., Salvador Perez, who just can't be stopped right now, even with back injuries. We'll talk about that a little bit later. 2 for 3 each. Vinny Pasquantino snapped the pretty gnarly skid that he was on.
For 26.
Yeah. Which for him, like that's, for a normal hitter, you're like, well, that's still a lot for him. That's like unheard of. And he did start the season slow, but still, when Andy tweeted that, I was like, I had no clue that he was slumping.
Second slump like that in the season.
Yeah.
In the middle, and just a monster.
Well, what's wild is, and I'm going to talk about it a little bit later too, but in that 0 for 26, do you know how many strikeouts he had?
3, probably.
3.
Yeah.
I think it's
not a lot.
So, he's put the ball in play. He's doing all the right things. He had a bunch of 390-foot flyouts in Detroit.
Yep, 100%.
Stupid.
Cole Reagan's on Tuesday, 6 2/3, 4 hits, 1 earned run. Walked 3 and fanned 9. Guys, any thoughts on the games? I think that the April 26th game, which would have been Friday, I want to say, when Seth Lugo pitched against Detroit, he did really well. Michael Garcia had a good game. The game prior against the Blue Jays, they've been on like these streaks of we're going to win 3, then we're going to lose a couple, then we're going to win a few in a row. They haven't really stabilized on that front yet, and that's kind of what the theme of this podcast is. But we'll start with Josh. Any specific game, performance, thing that jumped out over the past week?
I think we started to see Royals social media, Royals Twitter, if you will, kind of start to panic a little bit. It was kind of funny once the losing streak began. Everybody started turning on managerial decisions, and we are back. We are back, like Joel said.
So back.
We are back. We're so back. and specifically, it was the 6-5 loss to the Tigers. They went into the 7th with a 3-1 lead. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And then Stratton blew up and ended up leaving that inning with a 6-3 deficit, which they did mount a comeback. Responding, which this team does, is very fun. But a lot of people were really wanting to see Zerba get the 7th after a 9-pitch, 3 up, 3 down, 6th inning that he came in relief as well. So we are back. I'm going to kind of roll that into a fun game that we can play. If you guys want to play it now, I got it ready here for you. But that was my big overarching theme, at least for this week, is A, we're starting to do the fun managerial questioning, and B, it's also fun to see this team continue to respond, even when you get kicked in the nuts with that tough inning on that Saturday game. They still try to mount that comeback and almost did. I mean, Vinny just missed that home run, so it is very good to see on that front. But I'll pass to Joel before we get to that game, or before we get to that part.
I mean, it's just fun watching this team respond and find ways to win ball games. And even if the game gets away from them, they still find a way to fight back. And this is where I think run differential does matter when we look in the context of a season. Like, for example, the Seattle Mariners are 16-13. They have a run differential of plus 11. Their offense is a travesty. It is really, really bad. Find ways to win games still. The Royals are 18-13, and we talk about how rough the offense is. And so the run differential is plus 45. Do you know what the largest margin of defeat the Royals have had this year so far is?
4 runs.
5, twice. To the Friday game against the Mets and then the Sunday game against the Orioles in Kansas City. Those are the only times the Royals have lost by more than 4 runs this year. Yep. They just find ways to keep themselves in games and hang around. And I think that matters. This does not mean the Royals are going to go on crazy runs, but the fact that they're learning how to win, and even in the games they're losing, they are still managing to be right there in the end. That is something that I think is going to keep building, because then okay, we can come back from any deficit. We can, and then those 1-run games start to flip a little bit. That's what we saw with some of these 13, 14, 15 teams. Was they just hung around in a lot of these games. It wasn't always pretty, wasn't always sexy, but late innings, they just find ways to win. And this team is doing that slowly, but it is a really good sign, I think. And I don't want to understate how masterful Seth Lugo was on that in Detroit. Incredible, even beyond any expectation that I had. 9 punchies, 7 shutout innings. That's awesome. Reagan's was Reagan's tonight. The starting pitching is still holding their own. It seems like it's stable. It's stabilized some, but they're not. The regression to the mean is not as steep as I think people thought it was going to be.
Just real quick on that point to Joel, the starting pitching, we finally got one of the games that we were kind of accustomed to seeing a lot of last season. Yesterday in the Jonathan Bolin game, where he only went 2 2/3, grinded even in those innings, and then the bullpen was trying their best to hold on for dear life and just couldn't do it. That was seeming like the entire season last year. And this is we are a whole month into the season. We've only had really one of those games. And that is huge. That is the difference. It was good to get that reminder.
And it was still a run game, and they fought
100%. Yeah, they were still responding, still trying to keep up. So I think that is a good indication, a good reminder of how far this team has come in just a year.
No, 100%. And 2 things off of what Joel said. I can't remember who tweeted it on Tuesday night. It was after the game, but the plus 45 run differentials, they're best in 1 month in 40 years. It was an insane stretch there that did it. And I think also you mentioned, Joel, the staying in games, the scrapping, the fighting back, the 1-run comebacks, or the just hanging in. If you only had 3 of those a month and you're playing, 5 months of baseball or whatever, that adds up in the end. That's the difference between, okay, you're going to lose or you're going to win, let's say 67 games, or you're going to push for 75, 76 easily. Being a competitive team. And again, everyone gets so caught up in the win total. And even if they do stumble and finish, below 500, even considerably this year, I think if you look at the process, you're going to say, okay, this team isn't as far off as people think. And I don't know if that leads into your game or not, Josh, but hopefully that's a okay segue.
Well, it's just a quick game, gun to your head. So it's a real dark game.
Man. Okay.
Gun to your head. I got 3 scenarios. I need you to give me, and caveats on this as well. So we're talking about regarding the bullpen, because that's what we were talking about, second guessing Q from Saturday night. In the bullpen, you need 3 outs. You can't go to MacArthur. You can't go to Schreiber.
Damn it.
Zerpa. He's a left-handed Schreiber. He's going to throw sinkers and get ground balls and get you out of the inning.
I hope we don't see many righties.
Yeah,
he is hot.
But I think he would be that guy.
Yeah, he could be.
I still think Stratton is good. I'm not going to sit here and dunk on the guy. He had a rough game after a really solid stretch. And I know that people want to say, you should have got him faster. That sequence happened so quickly. There was no time to get anyone hot. You just had to hope that he was going to be able to get out of the inning, and he didn't. It happens. Yep. Those things unfortunately occur, and you move on. But I think it will be Zerpa with Stratton close behind, I think.
I think I'd go Matt Sauer and then Zerpa or Stratton. Like I don't trust Stratton as far as I can throw him. And Zerpa, like you said, just I don't know. It's a very tough position because I would have said the fireman, as you've dubbed him, Josh, right off the bat. He's been nails this year. But man, that's a tough one. I might go Zerpa after the reaction, but I should also stand my ground and say Matt Sauer hasn't been bad this year, and I kind of like
your chest. Say it with your chest, Jordan. Say it with your chest.
Who would you take?
Yeah, that's essentially what the scenario was on Saturday. Was it didn't seem like Schreiber was available because he pitched 3 of the previous 4 games. MacArthur saving him for the 9th, maybe like the middle of the 8th, but essentially what Q was dealt with, and Zerpa was already coming off the 9 pitches, even so that was interesting. But the other one, let's go back to the lineup real quick. You need to get a home run. You can't be Salvi, can't be Vinny, can't be Bobby. Who are you putting up?
Nelson Velasquez, I think, just because of the sheer, like, give him something to hit and he's going to clobber the hell out of it.
I think so too.
I think he's got his zone contact rating is like really bad.
Rough.
Real
he's
bad.
had a rough time recently.
Yeah. But again, it's kind of a weird thing because like Hunter Renfroe, you could probably make a case. Nelly Velasquez, you can make a case. MJ Melendez continues to hit the ball hard, but he just cannot lift it for some reason. So that it's very interesting, I thought. And then the final one, you just need to get on base. Just get on base. Can't be Salvi, can't be Vinny, can't be Bobby. Also cannot be Michael Garcia on this one. Who you got?
I'd say MJ. Like he's like he is more willing to work a walk than most other guys.
I love this exercise because it's like there's no wrong answer, but then all the answers are wrong.
Have you seen the Max Kellerman clip where he says, "Give me Iguodala" when it says like "Fate of the universe on the line, last shot"? And Steph Curry's on that team. Fate of the universe on the line. I need to get on base. Give me Adam Frazier. God damn it!
That's actually a good. That was my second pick.
Yeah.
And I'll talk about
what a world
later. But yeah, what a world. Yeah.
He's in like 150 or something. But he got like a 16% walk rate or something crazy.
Yeah.
He'll give you a professional AB. That was just that's the end of the game, not a real like finale to it, but it was just it's a tough week. There's a lot of slumps going on all at once, especially if you start to eliminate the guys that are seemingly exceptional right now. You kind of get to weaponizing these guys with their matchups, and that's kind of what you got. You got to find out who's the worst case scenario or the best worst case scenario, if that makes sense.
Yep. A guy that could eventually be a candidate for the 3-out game, Will Klein, got called up and has since been sent down, but he pitched on Sunday in his debut, struck out 2, didn't give up a hit or a run. John Bolin also got called up and played 2 2/3 on Monday, gave up 3 home runs, just kind of is what it is. I think that we'll see him playing again soon. Colin Selby got promoted from Omaha on Tuesday. Bolin got sent back down because you can't, the 10-day rule or whatever it is, you can't keep moving people around.
I saw, so it's 10 days for position players, it's 15 for pitchers.
Gotcha.
The rule.
Okay.
So a little different.
So that makes it even trickier with the roster math, or simpler if you just have to make that decision. But Selby, 24 innings pitched in his big league career, 24 runs allowed. Not very sparkling of a...
30 punch-outs, though.
Yeah, he does, to 15 walks. So he has, it's a very boom or bust kind of profile for him. Hasn't done great in Omaha, but I figure we probably don't have too many thoughts on Selby, but I wanted to quickly see if anyone had a comment on Will Klein or John Bolin's debut.
I thought Will Klein looked awesome. I mean, he was up to 98. It was the thing that we've talked about before. The bullpen has been better since it was early in the year, but they just don't have a ton of velocity. Like your hardest thrower in there right now is James MacArthur. It's like 96. So this is just a
Sauer got up to 90.
Oh, Sauer's in 97, 98. That is
kind of out of nowhere. Yeah.
Yeah. But upper nines with regularity. We have not seen much from Will Klein or from a reliever unlike Will Klein. So I think he'll be back soon. He looked comfy, looked pretty dominant. So I think he'll be back once that 15-day rule is up. I know that the stat line was not pretty, but some of the stuff that I saw from John Bolin, I was like, okay, he was at 97 to 99. Like I what I would do, I would send him back down and put him in the bullpen and go, throw Ched. Because that's going to be your best path to the big leagues, is getting to that 97, 99, blow it out for an inning with that slider, and just let it eat. That might be the thing. Colin Selby, I don't really have much. This, to me, feels like... No, you know what this feels like? Feels like this is the 40-man tryout. Same thing with Tyler Duffy. We have a lot of pitchers that we need to make decisions on, so we're going to give you a couple innings here this week, and we'll see what you do. And if he's bad, then he's going to get DFA'd, and Carlos Hernandez is going to come up, and it's no big deal. It's going to be a scenario like that. So that's where I think it gets interesting. That's why I think they made this move, is just to see what they have. And if it's not good, then he's an easy DFA candidate because he's on the back end of year 40 anyways.
I mean, you read my mind. Will Klein was my player spotlight this week, and that was basically every point I was making. Like, he was
sorry, man.
So,
I'm
no, you're good, because I mean, it shows I am validated at that point, so I appreciate that. But I agree, I agree. It's the same approach to getting a guy with major league experience to see if he can stick on a major league roster. If he can't, whoop-de-doo. We got Walter Pennington dealing. We got Carlos Hernandez coming back. We got Sam Long. We got Will Klein. There's plenty of options here. So there are guys like Matt Sauer, Anderson, Will Smith, Stratton. They all are kind of still clinging onto those roster spots right now, and we'll see where they are at the end of the year. But at this point, they're just inventory building, and that's fine.
The Royals will eventually have a little bit of math to do on who's playing with the big league club. Carlos Hernandez is on a rehab assignment with Omaha. Jake Brentz remains on a rehab assignment. Alec March is on the 15-day IL. He got hit with a comebacker. X-rays negative on the elbow. Seems like he's a very quick 15 and out, and then back up. From everything I've heard and seen, Cole Reagan's left with a calf cramp on Tuesday. We were kind of texting the group chat. Just, one of those things that happens. And he was already up over 100 pitches. Nothing to worry about there until we hear something that gives us a reason for that. And kind of the same thing with Salvador Perez. He had some back tightness that had him out of the lineup Monday. He pinch hit late. Of course, he got a hit because that's all he knows how to do right now. Back on Tuesday, the training staff wanted him to be at first base instead of DHing, which good for them and good for him. He seems to be able to play through anything minor that just keeps nicks and bruises, bumps, strains, whatever, keeps playing through. So I think March is like the biggest profile injury there, considering it's a 15-day and it's like the freshest one, but still, all in all, nothing really to worry about there.
Salvi is tough. Water is wet.
Yeah, that's about it. We're going to do some player spotlights after a quick break, so we'll be right back.
We appreciate you supporting KC Sports Network by listening to our podcast. You have helped us become the highest-ranked Chiefs podcast network in 2022 and 2023. And don't forget about our daily Substack newsletter, the best written analysis you can find on the Chiefs straight to your inbox every day. kcsn.substack.com.
Welcome back in One World Away podcast. Here, Jordan Foote, Josh Keiser, Joel Penfield. I'm super grateful for you guys tuning in, however you are, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, however you're accessing it. Thank you so much. Let's do some player spotlights. And Josh, you had Will Klein that I guess we can still touch on a little bit, but a guy that hit a home run on Tuesday, his first of the year, and he's back in the lineup, is one Michael Massey.
Yeah, coming into this game, very cold, not good. Very weird stat of the day for you here. He had, coming into the game, he has a 7% K rate and a 0% walk rate on the year. Very strange. Very, very strange. But seems like he's chasing quite a bit. He's not making very good contact on top of that weird stat. His exit velocity, his launch angle, his hard hit rate is all really bad. His ground ball rate was a 55.6% ground ball rate coming into the net game tonight. But his contact skills are there. He has bat-to-ball skills that are damn near elite. He just doesn't hit the ball very hard, really ever. Still enough power in there to get to 15 to 20 home runs potentially. But I think he's got to be a little bit more selective. Tonight, it looked like his hot zone over the last 2 years when we saw him has been pretty much in the middle of the plate, but low. So we can golf him out. Exactly what you saw tonight on his home run. He hit it. It was right down the middle. Hit it pulled it, which is what Michael Massey does, which is what you got to do when you don't have enough power. And he hit home run. So I almost made him my bet of the week that he was going to hit a home run this week, and I changed it at the last minute. So that's egg on my face considering how poorly things have gone in that area. But it is good to see him kind of hopefully bouncing back out of this mini slump he's got going on.
It's going to get interesting because Nick Lofton's still hitting really well in Omaha.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe you have a roster decision. Michael Massey has options if they think he just needs more time and just work on his approach a little bit, and let Lofton come back up, who was fine. Like it's not like Nick Lofton lit the world on fire when he was up with the big league club, but he looked like he could handle himself well at the big league level. So, we'll see what happens there. But a home run tonight, it's kind of similar to what we saw with Kyle Isbell. Like, same kind of thing. Kyle Isbell's not striking out a ton, but the quality of contact is rough. But ever since he hit that home run last week against Toronto, he's looked really good at the plate and is making more contact. More of those balls are falling. Maybe we see something similar with Michael Massey, just seeing one go over the fence and seeing one drop, kind of opens the floodgates a little bit for him.
Yep.
As the resident Michael Massey hater is not the right word.
Skeptic?
Skeptic. I give him a full month. If we're talking on May 30th or May 31st, whatever, and he still hasn't improved at all, then I'm like, okay, you don't need to necessarily pull the plug definitely, but consider making a move, consider something to do. Right now, still getting back to the swing of things, literally and figuratively. I'm not too worried yet, but it's not a great start. Joel, who do you got?
So I'm cheating a little bit with my hitter spotlight. I'm going to try and make this as quick as I can. Again, kind of similar to what I did last week, a little more narrative driven here. I'm just going to talk about the bottom of the lineup for the Kansas City Royals, and let's just call it what it is. 6 through 9 in the lineup has been a black hole pretty much all year long. It's like we know that Michael, Vinny, Bobby, Salvi are going to get on base. They're going to drive runs in. MJ occasionally is going to do that. I'm not going to lump him in there because he's at least been productive at various points during the year. But right now, some combination of Nelson Velasquez, Adam Frazier, Garrett Hampson, Hunter Renfroe, Dyron Blanco have been bad. I mean, it's frustrating to watch when you see you got 6, 7, 8 coming up in a gotta have it inning. You're like, oh boy.
Yep.
Hope they pinch hit here. Just to rattle off some stats here. So weighted runs created plus, Kyle Isbell, 80. Now, for him, cool, because he's mostly in there for defense anyways. So I'm not going to, he is almost excluded from this because 90% of his value is what he does on defense, and whatever he gives you hitting is fine. Freddie Fermin is the 68, but again, backup catcher. Garrett Hampson, 32. Michael Massey coming into this game, 20. Nelson Velasquez, 88, and that's come down significantly over the last couple of weeks. Dyron Blanco, 86. Adam Frazier, 62. Hunter Renfroe, 42. Hunter Renfroe is worth negative 0.5 F4. So you have that side of it. And I know the easy thing for people to tweet and to shout into the void is just go get somebody from AAA. Go bring up Nick Lofton. Go bring up Drew Waters. Go get go select Tyler Gentry, Nick Prado, whatever. We already talked about Nick Lofton. That's probably the easiest move.
Yeah.
And I know people are screaming into the void for Drew Waters, and he's been pretty good. He's been good, 134 weighted runs created plus in AAA, but he's still striking out 25% in his career. He struck out 33% in the big leagues. We've talked about it. This is just a staple quote of this show. The idea of Drew Waters in practice is entirely different. So I'm not going to act like that's the quick fix. Nick Prado is still striking out well over 30% with an 82 weighted runs created plus in AAA. And he's got a career strikeout rate damn near 40. So I don't think that that's the quick fix. Tyler Gentry, who's been a top 10-ish prospect for a couple of years, has been a disaster this year. He's got a 60 weighted runs created plus with almost no power. So all of this to say, yes, the bottom of the lineup is an issue. I don't think there is some easy button that you can hit to completely inject something to the bottom of the lineup and try and fill out the roster. This kind of just is what you have, unless the Royals feel like they're competitive enough to compete for a wild card spot or the division, and they make a trade and try to lengthen the lineup that way. I don't see the path to Nick Lofton completely changing the fortune in the 7-hole, or Waters stopping, or Nick Pratto stopping the strikeout issues, or Tyler Gentry hitting a 180 on his season in the big leagues. Like, that's just not going to happen. So this is basically where I temper my expectations with people and say, this is what the Royals are going to have to deal with, and sink or swim with it.
Yeah. Well, and when you have Bobby Witt Jr. getting off to a torrid start and then slowing down a little bit,
the
great.
Obviously, carrying so much of it.
Yeah. And it's asking a hell of a lot.
But if you have, in coming up 6, 7, 8, 8th inning tie game, and you need a run because the bullpen is thin, and you have Adam Frazier, Hunter Renfroe, and Garrett Hampson coming up, you're screwed. The game is over. It's just, and it's not a national quick fix. It's just where they're at. Yeah, there's just no quick fix to the bottom of the lineup, I don't think.
Which is why I think Mike Massey coming out and kind of breaking that out and kind of at least giving you something, giving you a little bit of hope there in that 7 spot is helpful.
It helps lengthen things for sure.
Yeah, because I feel like if Massey's coming up, I think you could get some sparks and get some electric fireworks there. Electric fireworks is a thing, apparently. So then you're really just dealing with an 8, and then your 9-hole is what it is. And I think that potentially you can look at matchups and flop around and feel like something's trying to be made of. But yeah, it's tough to do. It's tough to be able to maintain any kind of consistency when there's just 3 dead spots in the lineup at any given moment.
John Bolin, Joel, any additional observation on him?
Yeah, so I went to go look at the Savant data because he, and it's not like we have a large sample, but did find a couple things interesting. Fastball spin is above average. The sinker, he had a 25% whiff rate on that. The slider is about a 25, almost 2,600 spin. He got a 35% whiff rate on the fastball, average 96. He reached 99. I think reliever John Bolin is very interesting. Not starter. I think he proved last night. I don't think he's a starter. But if you give him 1 inning where you say, go throw 98, I think he's got the stuff to be good back there.
It's tough for me to give up on Bolin the starter, but I do love it. And as long as he's he's shown, like you said, 5-pitch mix with a solid fastball, great slider. I mean, that's all you basically need to be successful in the bullpen, especially if you're throwing 98, 99. So,
and he threw 1 pitch yesterday to Justin Turner that it was like a sinker boring in on his hands at 96, and Turner turned on for a home run. I was like, that was a great pitch.
Yeah.
But it also gives him a little more margin for error to blow it out at 99, and because he missed a couple times down the middle, and it was at 95, 96. It's like, oh boy, you add about 3 or 4 miles an hour, that margin for error shrinks.
Mm-hmm.
Or an increase. Sorry.
If badass reliever is his floor, then I'm in. I'll go ahead and sign the dotted line right now on that.
Yep. I think a lot of, I don't want to say a lot of unknown, but big league unknown with John Bolin still. I don't think there's any real big league unknown with Adam Frazier right now, and that's my player spotlight. I'm hitting 185 entering Tuesday, expected batting average of 240. That's all fine and dandy, but a 62 WRC plus. He brings a professional approach, and we hinted at that earlier in the show. 75th percentile or better in chase rate, whiff rate, strikeout rate, walk rate. He's going to give you a pro at bat. One of the better walk rates on the team. The ratios are great. But he doesn't have a quality profile. There's no quality of contact. He doesn't hit the ball hard. On average, he doesn't max out. The expected numbers are bad. Doesn't barrel the ball. The 155 ISO from last year, which wasn't very impressive, is now 031 entering Tuesday's play. 13 home runs last year, none this year so far. 25th percentile, I think, or worse in multiple fielding metrics. He's not fast. I think he is a streaky player. He got out of the gate a little slow, then he heated up big time, quote unquote, then has cooled off in the past week or so. I think that a lot of the stuff, you take away Garrett Hampson's speed, which I know that's kind of his main selling point, but you're like, okay.
Literally his only selling point.
Yes, exactly. You're like, the way people talk about Garrett Hampson and what he can do, if you take out that speed, like Adam Frazier, he has a spot on the team, and I think he gives you some positional versatility. Joel sidetracked me with a comment in the side chat. I think Adam Frazier is fine to have on the team, but like kind of in a Hunter Renfroe way of people saw what they saw last year and were like, okay, maybe he'll like bounce back a little bit or be a little bit better. But like for a guy over 30, I just don't think it's going to happen. And I believe that the opening part of the season has kind of showed that he is what he is. And that's a guy that'll give you a pro AB, and that's probably about it.
Talking about defensive player of the week here.
Say that the whole ring robbery bought him about 2 more months on this team.
Probably, yeah. And he's fine. He is a totally fine player to have,
like
your depth piece, which is what they have him as.
Of the 3 guys that they brought in free agency on the hitting side, between him and Renfroe and Hampson, Frazier will be the one that lasts on the team the entire season.
Yep.
I think.
Well, and I think Renfroe will. I don't necessarily.
I forgot he's
will versus should type deal.
I said that and I realized he's on a 2-year deal. So,
and I believe it's a player option.
It's a player option, so he's going to be on the team next year.
Yeah.
Unless they buy him.
Yeah. Josh, any thoughts on Frazier before I jump to a pitcher?
Not much. I do think that he does bring a little bit of veteran presence in the lineup.
Yes.
In that locker room. And I think that is not nothing. And I do think that this is his, I mean, it's a very low floor, but we are currently in his floor. So I think that there is a little bit to do. I want to keep him on the roster 9 times a week outside of Garrett Hampson, 9 days a week. I don't know what Garrett Hampson's doing here. As the local Garrett Hampson hater, his defensive metrics are still pretty good. I don't want to admit that, but it is not too shabby on that front, whereas Adam Frazier is not doing that, and his offense is also not doing super well. So I do think that he is worthy of a roster spot. Nick Lofton at some point needs to be the guy up here doing that, I think. And that's kind of why I think that maybe Adam Frazier is, I think Garrett Hampson is probably the first one of those 3 out. I think Renfroe is probably the last one. So I think Frazier is the one kind of on the hot seat at that point for a roster spot if Nick Lofton's breaking out the door.
Agreed. I don't have a very big sample size to work off of for Anthony Veneziano. He's only pitched in 2 big league games this year, so I'm just going to skip all that shit because it doesn't matter. Well, it matters, but not very much. He's
being yoinked around.
Yes, he has. He's been on the Edward Olivares kind of highway, and even the inconsistent playing time. Like, it's been a year for him so far. Still has the fastball slider combo that I like and everyone likes. He introduced, they're recognizing it as a sweeper, but before the season it was called a slurve. So like he has a pitch that is like a tertiary offering that's not the change up. So I guess it's his whatever is after tertiary. I don't know what the word is, but another offering. I can't help myself here.
Made up anyways.
Yeah. Ancillary offering, as producer Nick says. Thank you. I went to journalism school and I don't
real words.
fucking know any words.
Not real words.
He has used it 6 times, 5 times, 3 times, 5 times, and 7 times in the minors this season so far. He's gotten a combined like 10 swings on it and 4 whiffs on that offering. I just want thoughts on Anthony Veneziano. He's 14th on Pipeline. We did the prospect rankings before the season, or right at the beginning of the season. Do we think that he has starting potential still? Do we think he's on the John Bolin trajectory where you're like up the fastball a little bit? Yeah. Is he a reliever? Is he a starter? Does he have a spot on the big league team? Joel, you seem to be a little bit ready to chime in.
I've always thought he was a reliever, even when he was striking out the world in high A-AA. Sure. I thought that was, I think his best path is bumping the fastball up to like 95, 96 with that kind of funky, long crossfire delivery that he has in the slider. It could be a weapon. I don't know if he is, like, I feel like it might be more quad A-ish than a for sure thing, but I like the stuff. I haven't seen enough of it to really know if it's going to stick.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's tough for me to give. I'm a big fan of Veneziano, considering what he's bringing to the table, like as far as his velo and stuff. And like Joel said, his long lanky delivery is a lot of fun, but he's just not getting the strikeouts that you want him to get in AAA. So it's hard to be able to. I mean, you see a guy like Daniel Lynch, who a lot of those same points can probably be made. Not striking out enough guys. The velo's kind of holding him back a little bit. He's not, not doing what you want him to do at AAA to be a major league starter. So I feel like, both of those guys are hopefully able to contribute in the bullpen. And if that's the case, great. But if not, okay. That's what I see the most likely scenario for Veneziano too, which could be, if he bumped that velocity up in the bullpen, same with Daniel Lynch, we could be cooking with some peanut oil, boys.
Our poor friend Joel Penfield has not won a bet all season so far. 0 for 4. Joel, redeem yourself with an optimistic bet for this week that has good timing, considering this guy might be on the verge of not being on an 0 for 26 slump.
I'd just like to point out that Jordan added a bullet point in the group chat under my bet that El Bozo win a real ring.
And I just want to say, for our bets last week, I got a spin zone for all of them. So Joel spin zone for last week about the contact play. It happened while we were recording, so we could probably call that a dub. My under 2.5 wins this week. The Thursday game was a rainout, literally a half game, so 2.5 wins.
It was an official game. It was an official game by Major League.
They really only played half of it. I'm not here. A spin and zone and Joel and spin zone Jordan. Cole Reagans probably gets those last 3 Ks in a regular game on his Thursday start. So I'm going to go ahead and say that we won 2 bets and I pushed last week is what I'm going to say. But I don't make the rules. Jordan does.
So my bet is Vinny Pasquantino to go over 4.5 hits on the week, and I do think he gets over that pretty considerably. I'll be honest, I juiced the line because I just needed a win, because as you guys will find out later, we have made up a bunch of punishments for being bad at gambling. And,
you're going to be the first to reveal.
I'm going to be the first one. So
I don't know.
Hopefully not, but most
I love that.
So yeah, Vinny Pasquantino over 4.5, and he's already got 1 because we're recording after the game is over. So that counts.
What? No.
That counts. Fuck you. That counts.
I think it does not. We've always said it starts on Wednesday and goes until Tuesday.
Tuesday nights are Bermuda Triangles.
Progress. The game is already happened.
If you win, we'll do the revisionist history and say you didn't win. But for now, we'll count it. How about that? Josh, for those of you watching at home, Joel did the sign language for. Yeah,
I love it,
Josh.
I like that. Since we're so bad at this, I'm going to use our powers for the good of the Royals team. I'm going to say they're going under 1.5 quality starts in this turn of the schedule, largely because I'm using the powers for good, but also because we have a lot of righties going again this week. And Milwaukee has the 3rd highest OPS against righties. Texas has the 10th best OPS against righties in the majors. So I think that both of those lineups are pretty good, could prove difficult for our rotation. So I'm going to say under 1.5 quality starts. But for the good of the Royals, I'm willing to be punished by the bet wheel in order to make the Royals good again.
I'm going under 2.5 for the maximum streak, win or loss, because since 420, the Royals have 420. The Royals have gone LLL, WWWW, LLLW. I think that they're going to win a couple, lose 1, maybe lose 2 more. They're not going to go on this streak. And part of this is a numbers game. They can only play so many games in a week that I'm kind of hedging my bet here. But I will be rising to 2 and 3 on the year after emerging victorious. And if not, I'm going to hate myself. So,
yep.
That's that. Let's talk some minor leagues and then toast game and get the heck out of here. Omaha, Austin Cox is back in AAA, which is good for him, man. It seems like a really rapid kind of development for him, but then you do the math of the weeks and the months. You're like, okay, that makes sense. 4 games in AA, 5 innings, 5.2, 1 hit, no earned, 5 strikeouts, a couple walks. Mike Brosseau got released, 107 batting average, -2 WRC plus. Not a lot going on there. I'm sorry to Mike, but that was a move that they made. Let's talk some standout players. And Joel mentioned Nick Pratto earlier. Josh, do you have any positive, negative thoughts on Nick Pratto?
Not really. He's basically doing what Nick Pratto does at AAA, which he takes a ton of walks, he strikes out. His OPS is 684. His metrics across the board are slightly up from where they were for his time in Omaha last year. This week he just went 2 for 8, 2 singles, 2 walks, and 5 strikeouts. So Nick Pratto's just doing Nick Pratto things, and I don't want to give up on him by any means, but it's just tough to see it at this point.
Joel?
I talked about Tyler Gentry earlier, and the 60 weighted runs created plus, which is 40% below league average. It's obviously bad. 77 plate appearances this year in AAA. He's striking out 36% of the time. Slash line 172, 312, 266 slug. He has 4 extra base hits on the year, 3 doubles and a home run. The power's zapped, which is basically what he has to do to get to the big leagues. He has to hit. He has to hit for power.
Yeah.
So I'm majorly concerned that he has capped out where he is going to be in pro ball. We're starting to get to that point because he had a full year in AAA last year with a 103 weighted runs created plus after going, over 135 at every other level. It's pretty concerning for what Tyler Gentry is going to be.
Good news is he's only chasing 17% of the time, so that's good.
Yeah.
So that means he's missing everything in the strike zone. That's a problem.
It's not great. His average exit velocity is 87.7 miles per hour.
It's not going to cut it. Tyler Tolbert is probably lower than that, and he has 1 extra base hit all year.
He's not 88.8.
Okay, so still,
and that's rough.
Gotcha.
That's rough.
Yeah. He's batting 129 with a -1. That's a -1 WRC plus. Striking out 30% of the time. He's spending a lot of his time at second base this year. Fangraphs, I think, lists him as a second base outfielder, which is, we know him more as an outfielder type that can capably do that. 26 years old. He had 50 stolen bases last year. The WRC plus, I believe, was like right around 100. Like, it was just fine. Tyler Tolbert has never been a big time prospect, but he is # not having a very good year. I'm going to snake mine here for AA. No transactions. Dylan Schrum, or Shroom. I think it's Schrum.
It's right.
Schrum.
Okay, because I went and watched some YouTube videos of him and none of them pronounced his name, and that's what I like to do. I did it for Kingsley Suamataia, who got drafted by the Chiefs.
Well done.
Thanks.
You've been working on that one, haven't you?
Yeah, I have. Because when you watch the tape, they don't have any audio. Obviously, it's just blankly staring into the void. As Nick is Suamiata. Dylan last year played pretty well. 399 OBP, had 13 home runs. This year, growing into some more power. 6 home runs in 18 games. The ISO is up. The walk rate's still about 15%. The strikeout rate's down. He's a first baseman. He turned 26 in March. He's in AA, so I don't have too many crazy thoughts about him. He still needs to, consistently keep this going before popping up on anyone's radar, but I had no clue he was doing this, so kudos to him. Josh, what you got?
I got Caden Wallace. I'm not personally super high on Caden Wallace. I think he's got a high floor, but a pretty low ceiling. I don't think he does anything great, but he does a lot of things really good, and some of that is putting the ball in play. And this week he went 4 for 8, 4 singles, 3 walks, and 2 strikeouts. His 2024 slash lines 267, 380, and 400. And if that's what Caden Wallace is, like a 750 to 780 OPS guy, that will play. It's just not a cornerstone in the lineup that you really want from that third base. So, we'll see what Caden Wallace can do to kind of increase his ceiling at this point. But at this point, he's still maintaining his floor, which is good to see.
So I wanted to give a Gavin Cross update. We haven't talked about him much this year at all because he really hasn't done anything noteworthy.
Don't do this.
So his walk and strikeout rates are about in line with where he was last year in Quad Cities, about 28% K rate, 10 to 11% walk rate. But batting average is up, slashing 246, 347, 323. Again, the power just has not come back from the Rocky Mountain
Spotted fever.
spotted fever. Yeah, it has not come back yet. 94 weighted runs created plus. He's got 5 extra base hits on the season. I'm not gonna really hit any panic button until like June 1st, but yeah, I'll let you guys kind of do with what you will.
Yeah, I'm not giving up on him by any means, but it's tough.
I'm not. But I want to see another month and see if the power starts to come for him. But if the power doesn't come back, he's screwed. Like, it's just not going to work.
Yeah. He's really going to have to be a good center fielder at that point, which he's a big dude. I don't know if he's going to be built for center field.
He's going to play corner. I don't think he's going to be a center fielder in the big leagues.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So I think that's the only way you kind of potentially, if he doesn't turn that power around, that's really the only way. Because is he David DeJesus at that point?
Oh,
maybe.
Man. If that,
maybe. And if that's a first round pick.
Correct. It's not, and I think what you want.
Yeah. Jared Dickey, Joel, how about something positive?
Yeah, so this is a guy that I really like from the draft last year. I liked what I saw in a small sample in Columbia. He started off pretty slow in Quad Cities, but turned it on this week. He already has 3 home runs. He had none in 113 plate appearances in Columbia last year. He is walking about 15%, 129 weighted runs created plus. He's a dude that's like kind of in the same mold. I think he's better than this guy, but Royals minor league legend Tucker Bradley. Like, just like a hit over power guy. He's going to put the ball in play, walk a fair amount, not going to strike out enough to concern you. But if the power starts to come for him, it elevates him a little bit. And I think there's enough bat to ball skills that's going to go. 226 ISO. He's hitting a lot of doubles. And he's got 3 doubles and a triple with 3 home runs. So a lot of his hits are going extra bases. So I like what I'm seeing.
I've got Brandon Johnson, a righty who turns 25 in June. Last year, he was obviously advanced in age even for high A, 5.04 ERA. This season, he's pitched just under 10 innings. He's given up 7 hits, but a 4.38 BABIP. So that's pretty interesting. He struck out 20 batters compared to 3 walks. Like, he has been ridiculously dominant with the strikeouts. So turns 25 in June. Again, I'm not putting him on any radars, but at a certain point, when you look back at all the guys we've covered, I was like, man, we haven't talked about him yet. So I have found that interesting.
Yeah, I got a similar guy also in the pen, also getting the saves. I don't know who the outright closer is, but Ben Sears having a solid season. Also 10 innings pitched in 7 games, but he has 3 saves. This last week, he went 4 innings, no earned, 2 hits, 4 Ks, and a save. Looking pretty solid. This year so far, they get him in the 14th round of the 2022 draft, so that's a nice little reliever potentially in the making here. But yeah, shout out to Ben Sears for this, and I'm going to say it again until Carter Jensen makes his way to NWA. He got 9 walks this last week, just in a week, 9 walks. So get this man to Springdale ASAP. I love Carter Jensen. Please validate me by getting him some success on the double A stage, please.
You want to take it back for Columbia, Josh?
I'd love to. Daniel Vasquez, also very strong this season. 3rd round out of A-ball. Or, I'm sorry, this was his third swing at A-ball as a 20-year-old. Is a 16.1% walk rate, 18.4% K rate, slashing 296, 341, and 352. His power is not going to ever be there, I don't think. But he could fill out. He's 6'1", as a shortstop right now, so you could fill that out as 150 lanky 6'1". But he had a solid week this last week. Had a solid year so far this year. He could come up to be a table setter in the future potentially, but the power is just not there at the moment. So see how he fills out. See where he ends up defensively. Got a good glove defensively, so curious to see what he ends up there. But he was my guy there in Columbia this week.
I've got Emmanuel Reyes. He has progressed in the strikeout department. He has 23 and 20 innings, but kind of progressed in some other facets in 6.10 ERA, 5 walks in his 4 starts. He's young, so I'm not hitting any panic alarms, but I'm watching kind of how he unfolds throughout the season. I did want to mention, though, before I kick it back to Joel, A couple quick Columbia transactions. Josh Hansel, who's a 16th round pick last year from the Royals, has been assigned to Columbia. And Ben Hernandez, the 2020 second round pick, that's kind of progressed a little bit slowly, not coming along too much. They'd probably try to fast track that development, but he's also assigned to Columbia.
My guy was the second round pick last year, Blake Walters. Really good start from him this week. He's not gotten out of the fifth inning, but 4 2/3 this week, 7 punchies, fastballs up to 98. And the thing that was intriguing to me is watching the video. He started off a hitter with a changeup, and that changeup has really solid arm side fade. I don't have any velo on it, but it looks like it's enough of a separator from the fastball to be effective. He looks like he's starting to gain some comfortability with it. That was the thing with him, was he was almost exclusively fastball slider as a prep. So the fact that he is, it seems to be a little bit of an emphasis for him to throw that pitch and be comfortable with it. 13 strikeouts in 12 2/3. And there's just not many dudes in the system with his type of stuff. So I am so excited to see how he progresses this year, because the early returns are very, very solid.
100%. More returns that are even more than very, very solid. I'm raising a toast game segment here, a glass of 360 vodka, Ben Holiday soft red wheat, 5 Farms Irish cream, whatever you're drinking, to Seth Lugo. Man, he has been great so far. We know that the peripherals suggest, and it's, of course, there's regression that's coming for him. That's just going to happen. It's inevitable. But his last start, 7 innings, 3 hits, 2 walks. He got the strikeouts. Everyone kept complaining, oh, he's not striking out enough guys. Then he got 9 in his most recent start.
Suck it, you haters.
38 innings pitched in 6 starts. His 5 quality starts entering Tuesday tied for the big league lead. His ERA ranks in the top 10 at 1.66. People were very hesitant with the Seth Lugo contract coming into the year because of the money they gave him, because of the structure of it, because of the not so proven track record. So far, even with progression coming, and when that hits and he bounces back to kind of negatively what people expect him to be, still going to be worth the deal. And in the meantime, he's been the best pitcher probably on the Royals so far. And that starting rotation that has, no slouches. So props to Seth Lugo. He's been pretty damn good so far.
Yeah, when he starts to regress to the mean, just throw him in the bullpen. It'll be fine. My shout out, my toast game, the defense of this Kansas City Royals team. We talk about the old adage, defense does not slump, and that is absolutely the key here in this situation. A big key to how good this pitching is as well, because a lot of those guys pitch to contact. They got a solid defense behind them. It works every time. So right now, the defense is tied for first in defense runs saved in the major leagues. It is 24. They're second in UZR per 150. They are tied for fourth in outs above replacement. And shout out especially to MJ Melendez, who right now is 7th among left fielders for defensive run save. He's 3rd in UZR per 150 and 6th in outs above replacement with just 0, but still 6th is not a negative asset at this point. He was a negative asset for most of the year last year, and he has absolutely made some strides in the defensive realm. So very good to see all around, but really especially with MJ Melendez in his game. So toast game to MJ Melendez.
My toast game to Salvador Perez for being one tough MFer. That sort of stuff. Like, there are some guys that'll sit for 2-3 days and just let it go. Nope, I'm available off the bench. You need a hit in the 9th inning. All right, I'll come and do it. And then he did it. And then he's back in the lineup today in the field. 2 hits today. He's just awesome. Like, it's a perfect example of he wears the C on his chest for a reason. And he proves it every single day. He is ready to man the post and play 162 if you need him to.
Yeah, always ready to man the post. You guys are always ready to man the post here with me on this podcast. And everyone that listens is always ready to man the post of tuning in however you are. We appreciate that as always. We're going to be back next week to talk about maybe a little bit more stable of the Kansas City Royals team and schedule. But until then, we'll talk to you next time. Take care.